The chemist in his laboratory concentrates all the energies of his mind into one focus and throws them upon the materials he is analyzing, and so finds out their secrets. So relax from finding out all your secrets. The astronomer concentrates all the energies of his mind and projects them through his telescope upon the skies. And the stars, the sun, and the moon give up their secrets to him. The more I can concentrate my thoughts on the matter on which I am talking to you, the more light I can throw upon you. You are listening to me, and the more you concentrate your thoughts, the more clearly you will grasp what I have to say. How has all the knowledge in the world been gained but by the concentration of the powers of the mind? The world is ready to give up its secrets if we only know how to knock, how to give it the necessary blow. The strength and force of the blow come through concentration. There is no limit to the power of the human mind. The more concentrated it is, the more power is brought to bear on one point. That is the secret. It is easy to concentrate the mind on external things. The mind naturally goes outwards, but not so in the case of religion or psychology or metaphysics, where the subject and the object are one. The object is internal. The mind itself is the object, and it is necessary to study the mind itself. Mind studying mind. We know that there is the power of the mind called reflection. I am talking to you. At the same time, I am standing aside, as it were, a second person, and knowing and hearing what I am talking. You work and think at the same time, while a portion of your mind stands by and sees what you are thinking. The powers of the mind should be concentrated and turned back upon itself. And as the darkest places reveal their secrets before the penetrating rays of the sun, so will this concentrated mind penetrate in its own innermost secrets. Thus will we come to the basis of belief, the real genuine religion. We will perceive for ourselves whether we have souls, whether life is of 5 minutes or of eternity. Whether there is a God in the universe or more, it will all be revealed to us. This is why Raja Yoga proposes to teach. This is what Raja Yoga proposes to teach. The goal of all its teaching is how to concentrate the mind. The goal of all its teaching is how to concentrate the mind. The goal of all its teaching is how to concentrate the minds. Then, how to discover the innermost recesses of our own minds. Then, how to generalize their contents and form our own conclusions from them. It, therefore, never asks the question what our religion is, whether we are deists or atheists, whether Christians, Jews, or Buddhists. We are human beings. That is sufficient. Every human being has the right and the power to seek for religion. Every human being has the right to ask the reason why and to have his question answered by himself. If he only takes the trouble. 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 So far, then, we see that in the study of this Raja Yoga, no faith or belief is necessary. Believe nothing until you find it out for yourself. That is what it teaches us. Truth. Truth requires no prop to make it stand. Do you mean to say that the facts of our awakened states require any dreams or imaginings to prove them? Certainly not. This study of Raja Yoga takes a long time and constant practice. Constant practice. Constant practice. A part of this practice is physical, but in the main it is mental. As we proceed, we shall find how intimately the mind is connected with the body. If we believe that the mind is simply a finer part of the body and that mind acts upon the body, then it stands to reason that the body must react upon the mind. If the body is sick, the mind becomes sick also. If the body is healthy, the mind remains healthy and strong. When one is angry, the mind becomes disturbed. Similarly, when the mind is disturbed, the body also becomes disturbed. With the majority of mankind, the mind is greatly under the control of the body, their mind being very little developed. The vast mass of humanity is very little removed from the animals. The vast mass of humanity is very little removed from the animals. The vast mass of humanity is very little removed from the animals. Not only so, but in many instances, the power of control in them is little higher than that of the lower animals. We have very little command of our minds. Therefore, to bring that command about, to get that control over body and mind, we must take certain physical helps. When the body is sufficiently controlled, we can attempt the manipulation of the mind. By manipulating the mind, we shall be able to bring it under our control, make it work as we like, and compel it to concentrate its powers as we desire. According to the Raja Yogi, the external world is but the gross form of the internal, or subtle. The finer is always the cause. The grosser the effect, so the external world is the effect, the internal the cause. In the same way, external forces are simply the grosser parts, of which the internal forces are the finer. The man who has discovered and learned how to manipulate the internal forces will get the whole of nature under his control. The yogi proposes to himself no less a task than to master the whole universe. The yogi proposes to himself no less a task than to master the whole universe, to control the whole of nature. He wants to arrive at the point where what we call nature's laws will have no influence over him, where he will be able to get beyond them all. He will be master of the whole of nature. internal and external. The progress and civilization of the human race simply mean controlling this nature. Different races take to different processes of controlling nature. Just as in the same society, some individuals want to control the external nature and others the internal. So, among races, some want to control the external nature and others the internal. Some say that by controlling internal nature, we control everything. Others that by controlling external nature, we control everything. Carried to the extreme, both are right, because in nature there is no such division as internal or external. These are fictitious limitations that never existed. The externalists and the internalists are destined to meet at the same point, when both reach the extreme of their knowledge. When both reach the extreme of their knowledge. When both reach the extreme of their knowledge. Just as a physicist, when he pushes his knowledge to its limits, finds it melting away into metaphysics, so a metaphysician will find that what he calls mind and matter are but apparent distinctions, the reality being one. The end and aim of all science is to find the unity, the one out of which the manifold is being manufactured, the one existing as many. Raja Yoga proposes to start from the internal world, to study internal nature, and through that control the whole, both internal and external. It is a very old attempt. India has been its special stronghold, but it was also attempted by other nations. In Western countries, it was regarded as mysticism, and people who wanted to practice it were either burned or killed as witches and sorcerers. In India, for various reasons, it fell into the hands of persons who destroyed 90% of the knowledge and tried to make a great secret of the remainder. In modern times, many so-called teachers have arisen in the West, worse than those of India, because the latter knew something, while these modern exponents know nothing, 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 nothing. Anything that is secret and mysterious in these systems of yoga should be at once rejected. The best guide in life is strength. In religion, as in all other matters, discard everything that weakens you. Have nothing to do with it. Mystery mongering weakens the human brain. It has well nigh destroyed yoga. One of the grandest of sciences. From the time it was discovered more than 4,000 years ago, yoga was perfectly delineated, formulated, and preached in India. It is a striking fact that the more modern the commentator, the greater the mistakes he makes. The more modern the commentator, the greater the mistakes he makes. While the more ancient the writer, the more rational he is. Most of the modern writers talk, 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 talk. Talk. Most of the modern writers talk of all sorts of mystery. Thus, yoga fell into the hands of a few persons who made it a secret, instead of letting the full blaze of daylight and reason fall upon it. They did so that they might have the powers to themselves. They did so that they might have the powers to themselves. In the first place, there is no mystery in what I teach. What little I know, I will tell you. So far as I can reason it out, I will do so. But as to what I do not know, I will simply tell you what the books say. It is wrong to believe blindly. You must exercise your own reason and judgment. You must practice and see whether these things happen or not, just as you would take up any other science. Exactly in the same manner, you should take up this science for study. There is neither mystery nor danger in it, so far as it is true. It ought to be preached in the public streets, in broad daylight. Any attempt to mystify these things is productive of great danger. Before proceeding further, I will tell you a little of the Sankhya philosophy upon which the whole of Raja Yoga is based. According to the Sankhya philosophy, the genesis of perception is as follows. The affections of external objects are carried by the outer instruments to their respective brain centers or organs. The organs carry the affections to the mind to the determinative faculty. From this, the Purusha, the soul, receives them when perception results. Next, he gives the order back, as it were, to the motor centers to do the needful. With the exception of the Purusha, all of these are material, but the mind is much finer matter than the external instruments. That material of which the mind is composed goes also to form the subtle matter called the tanmatras. These become gross and make the external matter. That is the psychology of the Sankhya, so that between the intellect and the grosser matter outside there is only a difference in degree. The Purusha is the only thing which is immaterial. The mind is an instrument, as it were, in the hands of the soul. The mind is an instrument, as it were, in the hands of the soul. The mind is an instrument, as it were, in the hands of the soul, through which the soul catches external objects. The mind is constantly changing and vacillating, and can, when perfected, either attach itself to several organs, to one or to none. For instance, if I hear the clock with great attention, I will not perhaps see anything, although my eyes may be open, showing that the mind was not attached to seeing the organ. To the seeing organ. Well, it was to the hearing organ, but the perfected mind can be attached to all the organs simultaneously. It has the reflexive power of looking back into its own depths. This reflexive power is what the yogi wants to attain. By concentrating the powers of the mind and turning them inward, he seeks to know what is happening inside. There is in this no question of mere belief. It is the analysis arrived at by certain philosophers. Modern physiologists tell us that the eyes are not the organ of vision, but that the organ is in one of the nerve centers of the brain, and so with all these senses. They also tell us that these centers are formed of the same material as the brain itself. The Sankhya's also tell us the same thing. The former is a statement on the physical side and the latter on the psychological side, yet both are the same. Our field of research lies beyond this. The yogi proposes to attain that fine state of perception in which he can perceive all the different mental states. There must be mental perception of all of them. One can perceive how the sensation is traveling, how the mind is receiving it, how it is going to be the determinative faculty, and how this gives it to the Purusha. As each science requires certain preparations and has its own method which must be followed before it could be understood, even so in Raja Yoga. Certain regulations as to food are necessary. We must use that food which brings us the purest mind. If you go into a menagerie, you will find this demonstrated at once. You see the elephants, huge animals, but calm and gentle, and if you go towards the cages of the lions and tigers, you find them restless, showing how much difference has been made by food. All the forces that are working in this body have been produced out of food. We see that every day. If you begin to fast, first your body will get weak, the physical forces will suffer, then after a few days the mental forces will suffer also. First memory will fail, then comes a point when you are not able to think, much less to pursue any course of reasoning. We have therefore to take care what sort of food we eat at the beginning, and when we have got strength enough, when our practice is well advanced, we need not to be so careful in this respect. While the plant is growing, it must be hedged round, lest it be injured. But when it becomes a tree, the hedges are taken away. It is strong enough to withstand all assaults. It is strong enough to withstand all assaults. It is strong enough to withstand all assaults. A yogi must avoid the two extremes of luxury and austerity. He must not fast nor torture his flesh. He who does so, says the Gita, cannot be a yogi. He who fasts, he who keeps awake, he who sleeps much, he who works too much, he who does no work, none of these can be a yogi. Raja Yoga is divided into 8 steps. The first is yama, non-killing, truthfulness, non-stealing, continence, 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 and non-receiving of any gifts. Next is niyama, cleanliness, contentment, austerity, study, and self-surrender to God, and self-surrender to God, and self-surrender to God. Then comes asana, or posture. Pranayam, or control of prana. Pratyahara, or restraint of the senses from their objects. Dharana, or fixing the mind on a spot. Dhyana, or meditation. And samadhi, or superconsciousness. The yama niyama, as we see, are moral trainings. Without these as the basis, no practice of yoga will succeed. Without these as the basis, no practice of yoga will succeed. As these two become established, the yogi will begin to realize the fruits of his practice. Without these, it will never bear fruit. Never bear fruit. A yogi must not think of injuring anyone by thought, word, or deed. Mercy shall not be for men alone, but shall go beyond and embrace the whole world. The next step is asana, or posture. A series of exercises, physical and mental, is to be gone through every day until certain higher states are reached. Therefore, it is quite necessary that we should find a posture in which we can remain long. That posture which is the easiest for one should be the one chosen. For thinking, a certain posture may be very easy for one man, while to the other it may be very difficult. We will find later on that during the study of these psychological matters, a good deal of activity goes on in the body. Nerve currents will have to be displaced and given a new channel. New sorts of vibrations will begin. The whole constitution will be remodeled, as it were. But the main part of the activity will lie along the spinal column, so that the one thing necessary for the posture is to hold the spinal column free, sitting erect, holding the 3 parts, the chest, neck, and head in a straight line. Let the whole weight of the body be supported by the ribs, and then you have an easy natural posture. You have an easy natural posture with the spine straight. You will easily see that you cannot think very high thoughts with the chest in. This portion of the yoga is a little similar to the Hatha yoga, which deals entirely with the physical body, its aim being to make the physical body very strong. We have nothing to do with it here. We have nothing to do with it here. We have nothing to do with it here. Because its practices are very difficult and cannot be learned in a day, and after all, do not lead to much spiritual growth. This portion of the yoga is a little similar to the Hatha yoga, which deals entirely with the physical body, its aim being to make the physical body very strong. We have nothing to do with it here, because its practices are very difficult and cannot be learned in a day, and after all, do not lead to much spiritual growth. Do not lead to much spiritual growth. Do not lead to much spiritual growth. Many of these practices you will find in Del Sartre and other teachers, such as placing the body in different postures, but the object in these is physical, not psychological. There is not one muscle in the body over which a man cannot establish a perfect control. The heart can be made to stop or go on at his bidding, and each part of the organism can be similarly controlled. The results of this branch of yoga is to make men live long. Health is the chief idea, the one goal of the Hatha yogi. He is determined not to fall sick, and he never does. He lives long. 100 years is nothing to him. He is quite young and fresh when he is 150. Without one hair turns gray. But that is all, that is all, that is all. A banyan tree lives sometimes 5,000 years, but it is a banyan tree and nothing more. So if a man lives long, he is only a healthy animal. Healthy animal, 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 animal. One or two ordinary lessons of the Hatha yogis are very useful. For instance, some of you will find it a good thing for headaches to drink cold water through the nose as soon as you get up in the morning. The whole day your brain will be nice and cool, and you will never catch cold. It is very easy to do. Put your nose into the water, draw it up through the nostrils, and make a pump action in the throat. After one has learned to have a firm, erect seat, one has to perform, according to certain schools, a practice called the purifying of the nerves. This part has been rejected by some as not belonging to Raja Yoga, but as so great an authority as the commentator Shankaracharya advises it, I think fit that it should be mentioned. And I will quote his own directions from his commentary on the Shvetashvatara Upanishad. The mind whose dross has been cleared away by pranayam. The mind whose dross has been cleared away by pranayam, becomes fixed in Brahm, becomes fixed in Brahm. Therefore pranayam is declared. First the nerves are to be purified, then comes the power to practice pranayam, stopping the right nostril with the thumb, through the left nostril fill in air according to capacity, then without any interval throw the air out to the right nostril, closing the left one. Again inhaling through the right nostril, eject through the left according to capacity, practicing this 3 or 5 times at 4 hours of the day, before dawn, during midday, in the evening, and at midnight. In 15 days or a month, purity of the nerves is attained. Then begins pranayam. Practice is absolutely necessary. You may sit down and listen to me by the hour every day, but if you do not practice, you will not get one step further. It all depends on practice. 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 We never understand these things until we experience them. We never understand these things until we experience them. We will have to see and feel them for ourselves. We will have to see and feel them for ourselves. Simply listening to explanations and theories will not do. There are several obstructions to practice. The first obstruction is an unhealthy body. If the body is not in a fit state, the practice will be obstructed. Therefore, we have to keep the body in good health. We have to take care of what we eat and drink and what we do. Always use a mental effort, what is usually called a Christian science, to keep the body strong. That is all. Nothing further of the body. We must not forget that health is only a means to an end, a means to an end, a means to an end. If health were the end, we would be like animals. Animals rarely become unhealthy. If health were the end, we would be like animals. Animals rarely become unhealthy. The second obstruction is doubt. We always feel doubtful about things we do not see. Man cannot live upon words, however he may try. So, doubt comes to us as to whether there is any truth in these things or not. Even the best of us will doubt sometimes. With practice, within a few days, a little glimpse will come, enough to give one encouragement and hope. As a certain commentator on yoga philosophy says, when one proof is obtained, however little that may be, it will give us faith in the whole teaching of yoga. For instance, after the first few months of practice, you will begin to find you can read another's thoughts. They will come to you in picture form. Perhaps you will hear something happening at a long distance when you concentrate your mind with a wish to hear. These glimpses will come by little bits at first. But enough to give you faith and strength and hope For instance, if you concentrate your thoughts on the tip of your nose, in a few days you will begin to smell most beautiful fragrance, which will be enough to show you that there are certain mental perceptions that can be made obvious without the contact of physical objects. But we must always remember that these are only the means, the aim, the end, the goal of all this training is liberation of the soul, liberation of the soul, liberation of the soul. Absolute control of nature and nothing short of it must be the goal. We must be the masters and not the slaves of nature. Neither body nor mind must be our master, nor must we forget that the body is mine and not I the body's. A god and a demon went to learn about the self from a great sage. They studied with him for a long time. At last the sage told them, "You yourselves are the being you are seeking." Both of them thought that their bodies were the self. They went back to their people quite satisfied and said, "We have learned everything that was to be learned. Eat, drink, and be merry. We are the self. There is nothing beyond us." The nature of the demon was ignorant, clouded, so he never inquired any further, but was perfectly contented with the idea that he was God, that by the self was meant the body. The god had a purer nature. He had at first committed the mistake of thinking, "I, this body, am Brahman, so keep it strong and in health and well dressed and give it all sorts of enjoyments." But in a few days he found out that that could not be the meaning of the sage, their master. There must be something higher. So he came back and said, "Sir, did you teach me that this body was the self? If so, I see all bodies die. The self cannot die." The sage said, "Find it out. Thou art that." Then the god thought that the vital forces which worked the body were what the sage meant. But after a time he found that if he ate, these vital forces remained strong. But if he starved, they became weak. Then the god then went back to the sage and said, "Sir, do you mean that the vital forces are the self?" The sage said, "Find out for yourself, thou art that." The god returned home once more, thinking that it was the mind. Perhaps that was the self. But in a short while he saw that the thoughts were so various, now good, again bad. The mind was too changeable to be the self. He went back to the sage and said, "Sir, I do not think that the mind is the self. Did you mean that?" "No," replied the sage, "thou art that. Find out for yourself." The god went home and at last found that he was the self beyond all thought, one without birth or death, whom the sword cannot pierce, or the fire burn, whom the air cannot dry, or the water melt, the beginningless and endless, the immovable, the intangible, the omniscient, the omnipotent being, that it was neither the body nor the mind, but beyond them all. So he was satisfied, but the poor demon did not get the truth owing to his fondness for the body. Body. This world has a good many of these demoniac natures. But there are some gods too. If one proposes to teach any science to increase the power of sense enjoyment, one finds multitudes ready for it. Ready for it. Sense enjoyment. Ready. Sense enjoyment. If one undertakes to show the supreme goal, one finds few listen to him. Few. If one undertakes to show the supreme goal, one finds few to listen to him. One finds few to listen to him. Very few have the power to grasp the higher. Very few have the power to grasp the higher. Fewer still the patience to attain to it. But there are a few also who know that even if the body can be made to live for 1,000 years, the result in the end will be the same. When the forces that hold it together go away, the body must fall. No man was ever born who could stop his body one moment from changing. Body is the name of a series of changes. As in a river, the masses of water are changing before you every moment, and new masses are coming, yet taking similar form. So it is with the body. So it is with this body. Yet the body must be kept strong and healthy. It is the best instrument we have. It is the best instrument we have. This human body is the greatest body in the universe. This human body, this human body. This human body is the greatest body in the universe. And the human being, the greatest being, man, is higher than all animals, than all angels. None is greater than man. Even the devas, gods, will have to come down again and attain to salvation through a human body, a human body, a human body. Man alone attains to perfection, not even the devas, according to the Jews and Mohammedans. God created man after creating the angels and everything else, and after creating man, he asked the angels to come and salute him, and all did so except Iblis. So God cursed him, and he became Satan. Behind this allegory is the great truth that this human birth is the greatest birth we can have. The lower creation, the animal, is dull and manufactured mostly out of tamas. Animals cannot have any high thoughts. Animals cannot have any high thoughts. Animals cannot have any high thoughts, nor can the angels, nor can the angels, nor can the angels or devas. Animals cannot have any high thoughts. Animals cannot have any high thoughts, nor can the angels, nor can the angels or devas attain to direct freedom without human birth. In human society, in the same way too much wealth or too much poverty is a great impediment to the higher development of the soul, it is from the middle classes that the great ones of the world come. It is from the middle classes that the great ones of the world come. Here, the forces are very equally adjusted and balanced. Here, the forces are very equally adjusted and balanced. Here, the forces are very equally adjusted